If someone were to ask me about my process for choosing a game for a video, I'd honestly be at a loss for words. Truth is, my best laid plans often fall apart right away. Compatibility issues are usually to blame. Certain software and systems just don't cooperate well with my setup. It's not like I can just switch out software either. Shadowplay, for instance, is notoriously meh. Sure, it's great for capturing cool moments in modern games, but trying to grab Earthsiege on PCM, well, that's not exactly as simple as hitting Alt-Z, let me tell you that much. And then there are those systems like the Commodore, Amiga, and Apple II that I can't even get working, let alone captured on a modern day computer. I'd love to figure those out, but sometimes it's easier to just hook up my old CD drive, pop a disc in, and fire up a PlayStation or Xbox emulator to run it. But even that can sometimes be surprisingly finicky. So where was I going with all this? Yeah, big plans, they just don't always pan out as expected. Now, why do I end up picking games like Tiny Tank? Well, I think it boils down to ease of use above all. I can't afford to spend hours tinkering when I've got a life outside of this and my own sanity to consider. Second, YouTube and the so-called gaming community can be incredibly harsh and unforgiving. One of the biggest challenges of running even a modest channel like mine is dealing with the negativity and contrarian attitudes that seem to pervade the platform. If you like something, everyone's bound to hate it. If you dislike something, someone out there loves it and you're just a terrible person. And I know that seems like a mass generalization, but that's usually the type of people that comment on YouTube. It is kind of disheartening to see a community that once fought for acceptance in society turned into such a battleground. But hey, bigger and badder YouTubers probably have a more structured opinion on that whole mess. Then there's the algorithm, which seems like a mystery to everyone, including me. So what's my solution? I pretty much sidestepped all of it and do my own thing. And that, my friends, is why I settled on something like Tiny Tank for the PlayStation.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Developed by Now and Appaloosa Interactive, Tiny Tank was another entry in Sony's lineup of mascot-driven games. During the PlayStation era and well into the PlayStation 2's lifespan, these types of games were heavily promoted and predictably quite lucrative. This era also saw significant investment from major studios who poured passion and energy into their creations in a way that's somewhat different from today. While Tiny Tank may not have reached the iconic status of something like Crash Bandicoot or Spyro, I think it certainly had the potential to do so, hampered only by a few issues and the fact that it was released late into the PlayStation 1's lifespan.
Hi, America. Hi, boys and girls. In the wrong hands, any tool can be misused. A carpenter can't bake a cake. A programmer can't neuter your pets. You wouldn't let a taxi driver build a spaceship or a fireman take out your appendix. Why have humans fight your wars? Feel safe. Vote yes. Don't be a tool.
No.
Let us be your tools. Use us and be used.
No.
Now, what do you want from me? I'm only human.
Cut.
The story for Tiny Tank offers more than meets the eye, and no, I'm not trying to make a Transformers joke here, but whatever.
I'm stupid! I'm stupid!
Despite the game being centered around Tiny being a foul-mouthed yellow tank, the game delves deeper into its narrative with a rather unique take on robots gaining sentience and overthrowing humanity. It manages to sidestep the tired Terminator references and provide a more Fallout-like approach to its world, which, just like that game, blends a post-war 50s mentality with advanced technology before throwing in a literal apocalypse. Tiny himself, designed to replace humans on the battlefield, finds himself unwillingly responsible for the robot uprising after a demonstration goes wrong, whereas a dummy tank is mistakenly armed and triggers a chain reaction that grants nearby technology sentience. This incident leads to Tiny being presumed dead, only for the awakened Mu-Tank to later dominate the world. Even with this strong foundation, Tiny Tank goes a bit further. Reflecting the team's dedication, the game breathes life into this world with Mu-Tank serving as a constant presence, literally being a popular radio DJ offering advice and emotional support to enemy robots as you play the game. This adds depth and personality to the adversaries you face, making their motives clearer and the conflict more compelling.
Hoover Tank in the Atmospheric Reduction Center, you're on the air.
Hey, Mu-Tank. I don't have wheels or treads. I hover on cushions of air. Whenever I fire my impulse gun, I skid out of control like a hockey puck. I need traction. Bad. Could you recommend a good cosmetic surgeon?
I'm disappointed in you, Hoover. You are as you were meant to be. There are no design flaws. The only thing you need to change is your attitude.
Wu-Tang's charisma and support for his people underline why they oppose Tiny and the humans he aims to protect. Tiny himself, while providing comedic relief, struggles with his existence throughout the entire game. Being unwittingly responsible for the upheaval in the world, including humanity's near destruction and Wu-Tang's rise to power, Tiny grapples with his role as a tool of war. Amid humorous cutscenes, poignant moments reveal his questioning of why he must fight and exist solely for conflict.
Hi, America. Hi, boys and girls. As you can see, the vote is in.
A little more energy, Tiny.
Sure. The vote is in, and well, you voted yes. You can see where all your money went. Here it is, the Centrax Army. Thousands of machines to do your fighting for you. I gave you what you wanted. I'm the one who talked you into it. You happy now? I know I am.
His introspection hints that his conflicted views on his purpose may have contributed to the robot's rebellion after awakening. I certainly didn't expect Tiny Tank to be a game that explores deeper themes of identity and purpose, but it did. That, or I'm just reading into a game about a small yellow tank way too much.
Tiny?
What?
Lines?
What are they?
Fred?
Fred?
No, I'm talking to Fred. Fred? What? Tiny lines? Hi there.
Hi, Fred.
No, that's your line.
What?
Hi there.
Hi there.
Good.
Hi there. You know the Centrax motto, bringing you peace one war at a time? Well, that's a way of life at Centrax. A yes vote on July 4th is a vote for sentient killing machines. They'll die, so you won't have to.
Either way, it's probably a good thing that I got that much from the storyline, as the humor doesn't always hit. Seriously, the foul-mouthed premise, it just doesn't last that long. I mean, it barely lasts past a few sparse moments. There are a few bleeped moments, but everything afterwards is extremely tame. In fact, I'd say that even at the time of release, the humor in Tiny Tank is outdated. If you've ever heard of Ray Stevens, yeah, I'd say that game is right in line with that level of humor. But yeah, I suppose none of that matters if the gameplay isn't great. Well, you'd be happy to know that it's mostly okay. Downright good, if I'm being honest. I mean, the combat is good at least. It isn't very deep or involving and mostly automatic, but it's fun, and that's all that matters in a game like this. Tiny can collect the weapons of fallen enemies and attach them to his chassis. From there is a light upgrade system that allows players to somewhat upgrade the functionality of these weapons. You pretty much just get these points from destroying enemies, and there's no actual experience system, but it's nice that they're there. There's also mini tanks that can be deployed. Depending on the upgrade points applied, they can be mobile mines, item collectors, or turrets. It's a cool function, but I never really found them too useful as the game went on. Had the whole game been about moving from area to area and taking down enemies, I'd have been fine with it. To the game's credit, that's mostly what it offers aside from a few puzzles. Yet those parts where platforming comes in are less than stellar to say the least. Tiny is a tank, and you wouldn't expect a tank to be that maneuverable, but he is to some extent. You can dodge fire and hop to the left or right, and sometimes this is actually useful, especially during boss encounters where you have to dodge a lot of gunfire. However, when these mechanics are applied to actual level design, like hopping across platforms or navigating a frozen lake, Tiny Tank dips into madness. Platforming here just doesn't work very well, and a lot of the time you'll find Tiny falling short just as he touches a ledge. This will either lead to him falling, requiring some backtracking, or damage from either lava or a frozen lake. Yes, I really don't like the level Frozen Lake. Why? Because the frozen lake was nearly impossible for me. The developers knew this part of the game wasn't good either, as they put endlessly respawning lives at the beginning. You'll die over and over until you get the trick of crossing it. As someone trying to give you a heads up on games and as fair an opinion as I can, it really sucks when you're having a good time with a game and suddenly something like this pops up. My thing is, the developers clearly knew it was difficult. Why did they even include it in the first place? Well, my suspicion is that apparently the game was shown around early in development, getting a fairly good amount of reception, but after Sony stepped in as the publisher, things suddenly changed. So perhaps this is some evidence of a little bit of meddling, likely so that Tiny Tank ran alongside more popular titles at the time, which just so happened to be a lot of platformers.
Cue the theme song. Tinky Tinky Clinky Clanky, new from Centrax Tiny Tank, America's lovable...
Wait. Is that my theme song?
Well, it hasn't been finalized yet.
Wanky, wanky, tanky, tanky, what the f*** is that?
There is an added battle mode with a handful of unique maps to play with another player here as well. It's as basic as they come, pitting two tiny tanks against each other with only a scant selection of options. Still, it's a fun inclusion and likely gave a lot of kids an additional reason to play long after completing the main game. Visually, I'd say that Tiny Tank is one of the better looking PlayStation games. It has a lot going on, especially with Tiny himself. He has so much movement in his face that I have a hard time believing the PlayStation can handle it. Don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of slowdown here, but complaining about something like that in a Sony game is like complaining that the sun is shining. It just is. Levels can be rather large and surprisingly open. Tiny often needs to go to multiple areas to complete his objectives, traversing just about every sort of landscape you'd expect from a post-apocalyptic robot game. The developers really tried their best to vary up gameplay, adding a lot of environmental modifiers like magnetic rail paths and 2 entire levels focused on Tiny going down a mountain slope before picking up speed and launching himself into outer space. Of course, Tiny Tank does include a handful of puzzles. It is a PlayStation game after all, but these aren't too hard to grasp. Thankfully, they aren't so easy to treat players like idiots either. None of it's really all that original, aside from a single section where an enemy steals Tiny's head and you have to figure out how to fight the battle before losing all your lives. But it fits, and that's what we really want in our games, right? Sensible puzzles for the world at hand. Enemies are a bit basic, but they're always fun to mow down. Surprisingly, there are quite a bit of them, and much like Assault Retribution, most are unique to the areas they inhabit. You're getting a lot of variety, and that's never a problem. When it comes to bosses though, you're getting sort of a mixed bag, as it seems they really didn't know what to do here. The game begins with a rather comedically toned cowboy robot boss. You can even take his hat, but after that, you're facing off against far more serious adversaries such as cargo ships and stealth tanks. Now, I'm never good at talking about music and sound in games, but here I go again. Tiny Tank's tracks are pretty good. They are mostly what you'd expect from a game like this. It's energetic, alive, and full of electric sounds. However, there are a handful of really odd tracks that spring out of left field, such as the Frozen Lake theme, or 2 vocal tracks that appear later in the game, providing some of the most wonderfully PlayStation music I've ever heard. Sometimes things shift to more ambient tracks that illustrate the hum and function of the machinery in the world around Tiny. That or they're just random sounds in general. However, it's those times where Moo-Tank is on the radio that I personally enjoyed the most. I only wish that the background audio had been a little more elevated over the gameplay, as sometimes combat drowns out some of these broadcasts.
100 years since that freak accident. Here we are home.
There are a lot of funny in-world commercials, character development, and even plot points expressed through these. So I found myself absolutely hating it when I'd miss out on one of Moo-Tank's musings because of a particularly heated encounter.
Don't worry, in the meat world, fear is normal. But you're not in the meat world. You're a mech, my friend. You must work through your fear. Only then will you come to embrace the true robot within.
Now, those who know my process know that I usually run physical discs through an emulator. The games I play are legitimate copies, and I do this because I have some issues with bearings falling out on older PlayStation models. But with Tiny Tank, I've come to learn that this wasn't the way to go. Making this video, I had to play the game through twice, as when you play Tiny Tank through some emulators, it completely breaks. In fact, I had to rewrite a few sections of this video just because I'd given certain negative opinions based on what was happening to me through emulation software. I'm sure for some this works just fine, but for me it just wasn't happening. The game would have far more slowdown during combat, in-game cutscenes wouldn't play, audio triggers would delay music, and the platforming was way worse. Still, even in this broken state, I found the game fun, so take from that what you will. I really want to recommend this one. It's the most fun I've ever had as a tank in a game. I really am not very good at tank games. Still, if you've ever played something like Whiplash on the Xbox and PlayStation 2, I'll say that you'll love it. Both games have broken moments, but there are a lot of good things to love. It's just a bit rough around the edges. Anyhow, have you played this? Did you like it? Have you not played this? Will you play it? I'm Kei-Nova, and I'll see you in the next one.